men will say, or black men will say, you know, what are your policies? What are this? And actually, I was asking the same questions until my girlfriend was like, well, did you read all of her policies? And I was like, no, send me the link. And as I read, because literally she was like, well, what would you want for Kamala as a black man? What would you want for Kamala Harris to do in order for you to feel a particular type of way about her policies? I was like, well, mental health, job access, and then the ability to engage economically on a broad scale. She was like, yo, she has policies that are going to address all of those things. And I read it and I was like, okay.
It's a red flag.
It is because of the lens that I view it through, which is mostly political, to Alvin's point of attempting to remove oneself from the political and cultural identifications with blackness through marrying somebody of another culture.
That's some deep stuff, man. Josh, you got a rebuttal?
Hell no. It was shoot. This nigga was insulting me the whole time. I didn't understand nothing.
And on that note, welcome to Waving the Red Flag, the #1 hypo descent interracial dating podcast in Northeast Georgia, in particular. Nowhere else are we #1 in those categories, but Northeast Georgia, we run that. Mm-hmm. That's what we dominate.
And in some parts of the eighth dimension.
Just a few sections of that. Mm-hmm. Last the analytics told me. I need to check our social blade.
Oh yeah, man, it's got updated.
Yeah, but tonight you got Alvin, you got Josh. Eddy is somewhere producing his new mixtape. It's going to be solely cocaine raps for the old heads. So filling those lofty shoes, we have the one and only Josh Jamaican air horn. You gonna do something? Boop, boop, boop. The illustrious, the incomparable Professor Odie. How you doing, sir?
Good people, great people, guys, people. How y'all feeling? How y'all doing? I'm fantastic, but brother, thank y'all for having me on for what's this, the third time?
Yeah. You ain't have to come in like Barry White on that one, bro. Like you let your voice drop an octave.
I know, full radio voice.
Right. It's the introduction voice. It's the introduction.
Yeah, nigga with the deep voice on this one.
He said, "I'm podcasting tonight." Right. He said, "This is what we doing. I'm in the zone. I'm locked in."
Right. All he had to do was turn around in that chair real quick. Good evening, good people. But it's good to have you on. Good to see you again, brother. You know what I'm saying? Looking blessed and highly favored.
Shit, dressed in highly flavored. You feel me?
Yes, indeed, man.
That was nice.
Yes. AB, what we talking about?
Let's just talk about what we think about the election.
Scary. That's the first word that comes to my mind. Scary. Like, I mean, I am like day by day, I'm bewildered at the strong, staunch, unrelenting support for Donald Trump. And I'm like, do y'all hear this nigga? Do y'all see this nigga? He's not saying shit. Like, most of the time, got caught lying. And then, like, if you want, then, like, they always talk shit about Kamala. And, like, say these reasons that they talk shit about Kamala. Oh, she's of low character morale and she did it. But it's like, nigga, like, the motherfucker you're backing has done everything that you are slamming Kamala for, like on some character type shit or whatever else, and worse. So it's not like you really don't care about that stuff. So, but I can't believe it's this close at the end of the day.
I don't think I am. I think to your point, and I'm not surprised by this either, because I think everybody wants to pretend that they're operating from some level of objectivity, because I think it gives them the idea that their stance has some level of validity that it doesn't. Like, they need that as kind of justification. I think they need to feel like he's better than her. I think they need to feel like he's better for the economy, because just saying that they're supporting him via a white supremacist lens just feels too real. So I think what's getting me is that people are legitimately trying to still play those arguments where it's like, well, Trump was better for the economy. He was not. Or Trump has this play, blah, blah, blah. Like none of that is true. You're voting for him as this bastion of white supremacy, right? And again, or you know, white supremacy and the intersections with fascism, you know, in that space, because they go hand in hand. initially, I've since gone past that, but I think initially what floored me was how few people were just willing to say like things that were very common when he ran in 2016, for example. Like people were very much saying, "I disagree with with what he's saying." That like those were actual interviews. Now people are backing away from that rhetoric a little bit more, and they're trying to pretend that he's better for foreign policy or something, which is just patently false. So that surprises me. But in terms of him polling extremely well, still that doesn't surprise me at all because that's like there's a base for white supremacy. Clear cut.
Huge yeah, still is a bit surprising because it's like, okay, call a spade a spade. Maybe you're not, maybe you are voting for white supremacy at the end of the day. But if you're doing that, you are effectively cutting your nose to spite your face, because the policies and the things that he wants to implement are not going to help you. Like,
They will hurt you. His tax policy will. If you're listening to this, there's a 98% chance that Trump's policies will hurt you,
bro. Like
regardless of color.
Exactly. Trump was, and like I don't think people like realize this or even know. Like I've never heard anyone bring about this point, but you remember before Trump got elected, when you filed your taxes, you were able to use write-offs for like for your job, like your 9 to 5. But when Trump got in, he changed that shit. You can no longer do that. And me personally, that shit hurt. I have not gotten a refund since '93, except for this year. God willing, he finally, I've seen what he done for others, and he finally did it for me. Thank you.
Oh my God.
I don't know, man. Quite frankly, and this may be the hotep woke in me. I don't know, right? The conscious black man in me. But none of these things shock me. None of these things shock me. Like even when things stopped shocking me after January 6th. Like things stopped shocking me because the reality of the situation is when we talk about white supremacy as a science, white supremacy will always utilize delusion in order to support its own belief system. Right. So when we talk about, Donald Trump's policies or Donald Trump, like none of those things really matter because what you will do is that if white supremacy in and of itself is a delusion, then anything that is birthed from it is also delusional. So for me, somebody operating in the delusion of supremacy will never shock me. And the lengths that they go to iterate their supremacy does not shock me because historically, this is still, from a historical context in the United States, this is still like low tier. Actually, if you want me to be quite honest with you, usually the way that it is that I approach white supremacists is that a lot of y'all pussy. Like a lot of y'all really don't operate the way that it is that you wish you could operate. So you have to utilize a spearhead in order to operate behind this person. And that's how a lot of Donald Trump supporters behave. It's like you all have seen this person move. You all have heard this person speak. You all have identified how it is that this, like I cannot recall a Donald Trump advertisement, a Donald Trump speech, a Donald Trump interview where he actually identified how he's going to do what he's going to do. He identifies a problem and he identifies who causes the problem, but he does not identify how it is that he himself is going to fix it. And quite frankly, if we look at it from the perspective, we have to understand that Donald Trump is a figurehead for capitalism at its worst because Donald Trump is a true to blood capitalist, and he runs his campaign like a marketing campaign, not a presidential campaign, not a political campaign, a marketing campaign. In a marketing campaign, what it does is that it identifies lack and it identifies what causes the lack. Like he literally speaks from pain points, but he refuses to identify how it is that he's going to alleviate those pain points. He just identifies how it is that, oh, I'm going to be the best person for the job. Like it's not shocking. It's just very much so. At this point, it's not even entertaining. It's sad.
Sad.
Like have we gotten to this point? Have we gotten to this point of ideological division so much so where we are willing to say I'm right instead of doing what's right,
or even just having the intellect to actually listen?
The United States doesn't
like objectively listen, because I don't know if some of these people are listening. Because I mean, like, bro, like I have never seen just a dumber crowd of people. Like, and I know when human beings get in a group think, like, you know, people just turn like, you know, just dumb, like just brain turned off and just start cheering at whatever, or just cheer when you're supposed to cheer. You know what I mean? And then like you said, like he doesn't give any sort of solutions. It's all just blame, 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 insult here, insult there, because that's what gets the people going.
Mhm.
But as a voter, when you seriously hear this, and like when he is asked a real question, never answers it, and then he gets real defensive. Oh, they were so mean to me. When he gets factual, they were so mean to me. They were so unkind. That's not true. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you goddamn right they were mean. But nigga, are you actually paying attention?
And I think it kind of I think that kind of speaks to Odie's point, because, and I'm not trying to oversell what I'm saying, because I don't want to pretend like the United States has ever been this Pollyanna situation that has not been you know, built on a foundation of racism, because racism has been at the core of the United States since the inception of the United States, and that has never stopped, that has never changed. But I will say that there was a point in, I would say, like the 90s to the early 2000s, where the arguments between Democrats and Republicans were superficially more policy driven, right? And again, you can't separate policy from that foundation of racism, but it was very much like, are we Keynesian, you know, economic driven from our policy, or are we going to be this trickle down economic, like Reagan kind of shit, which again, at its core has racist elements in it, to be sure. But now I think that we're very much locked into this purely ideological debate. And I think when you're locked into a purely ideological debate, you have bases that are ideologues. So they're not looking for facts. They're not looking for policy points to debate. They're literally saying, like, you ideologically are saying things that support my ideology, my delusion, as the good professor stated. So like I don't care about anything else. You're supporting my racist delusion, so I'm good. I'll deal with whatever else afterwards. And I'm also, as a person that subscribes to that ideology, I feel like there will be a certain level of insulation that comes with supporting you as the spearhead of my ideological like beliefs. So I think it's a really weird time in regards to that, because again, like I'm even thinking about the prime example I always talk about is Mitt Romney versus Barack Obama. You know, Mitt Romney and Barack Obama were differentiated, like largely in platform by like six policy points. Were they huge? Were they a huge 6 policy points? To be sure, but like they were fairly similar. Like our nation probably would have been largely the same had Mitt Romney won. Minus like ACA, which was huge. Like ACA, you know, Dodd-Frank, like a lot, you know, Consumer Protection Act, like a lot of stuff would have been like would have been different, but like the day to day of the average person would have been largely the same. But like now we're at a point where we're so ideologically divided that like a national election could vastly change the day to day lives of people, and that's driven by an ideological thing.
And I don't even really believe that. At least not in this election. Oh well. Yeah. I take that one back. I take.
Yeah, I was waiting. I was waiting for you.
Yeah. I'm gonna walk.
This shit could get spooky, man. Like I don't think like this is one of those things where like national election landscapes could impact the day to day of everybody. Because again, you pack the court with a couple more, you know, 45-year-old Supreme Court judges, and then, you know, Griswold, a challenge from, you know, like Missouri or what the fuck ever goes from that perspective. And like there are some landmark like cases that are from the judiciary that are in jeopardy, right? Like, and there's a lot of stuff that like obviously like Roe going down, obviously like Chevron going down was huge, even though I argued that Chevron has been functionally dead for like 30 years. But not having it as a floor, like I don't think people fully understand how much like that stuff happens, and how the next president is gonna appoint at least one justice, right? So we got to figure out what this looks like, and it could have vast ramifications for how we operate on the day to day. Because again, like Roe is a day to day thing, right? Like that impacts people like right now.
Big facts.
Griswold would impact people like now, like so.
Sometimes you kind of feel like numb because like every time around election season, it's all this propaganda, it's all this hype. And it's like,
True.
if you vote for this person, it's going to be the end of the world. World War III is going to happen. Niggas is literally saying World War III is going to happen if Kamala gets voted in. And there's white people who are believing it. But this motherfucker Donald Trump, he was in office in 2020. Y'all literally almost started World War III with his jackass self. But no one wants to talk about that. But it's just going back to like what I was saying earlier, like just the propaganda and just all the hype and vote or die like every 4 years. And then like after the election, most things didn't really change a whole lot. Like, like the day-to-day thing. So that was the quick slip of the tongue when I said like, oh, maybe in this one it might not. But no, there are definitely big stakes in this election, like real life, like literally, like you said, Alvin, Roe v. Wade being being abolished is insane. And niggas, matter of fact, it's niggas, like black people niggas, that are either on the fence or not voting for Kamala because they don't believe in abortion.
I think that is very interesting because once again, as Alvin is stating, when we talk about the history of the United States, it's always from a nexus of racism and, exclusionary tactics. And for a lot of black men, abortion is an extension of eugenics, and abortion is an extension of the extermination of black men. But in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, brother, you are still attempting to police a body that does not belong to you for the benefit of your perspective of masculinity, which is an extension of white supremacist masculinity. So do you understand that black women, outside of most women, suffer the most from PCOS? Do you recognize that black women outside of most women would be the most impacted by these types of things? But then the retort is usually, well, they should pick better men. They should, like, nigga, are you hearing yourself right now? Like, do you not recognize how it is that we as black men constitute to these particular outcomes? Like, even I was having a conversation with one of my clients, and he was like, "Yeah, back in our day when we was younger, the idea was how many women could you fuck? We do not teach ourselves effective enough discipline for you to turn around and try to police somebody else's body like that. That shit irritates the life out of me because I'm like, bro, black women, just from environmental factors, teratogens have the most reproductive issues. Black women die the most on birthing tables. Black women have the most issues in this space. But your only concern about black women's bodies is them having more black male babies. Brother, if I was not so concerned about you living, I would ask for you to jump off of a cliff, respectfully.
I wasn't so concerned with your life and actually getting paid to keep you here. But I digress. I feel like it's insane because like I had a conversation with this one guy, and then like you see the rhetoric from like other guys, and then like online. Luckily, my algorithm isn't tuned in to like those places all too much, but I just could not understand I just could not wrap my mind around who taught you this. Why do you think this? Hold on. Like, who taught you this? Why do you think this? And why do you feel like you have the right to police another woman's body, or just because you might not believe in abortion or a woman's right to be able to choose? Fine, then, nigga, do what you want to do in your own life. You get somebody pregnant, that's what you want. Have that damn baby, but you do not have a right to say this about another person, regardless of whatever circumstances they're having this. They got pregnant by this, and I think it just kind of relates back into like men. We are just so just ingrained with misogyny that I don't think like a lot of us even like realize like just how like deep the layers are, or like what those layers look like. Because I mean, hell, I know I got blind spots, but
we all do.
Yeah,
we definitely all do. I firmly believe that a number of black men specifically, and there are multiple studies that have been done around this, especially as it relates to adhering to masculine, and actually the Pew the Pew Research Center literally just did a report a couple of months ago about the state of American masculinity. And consistently, over multiple years, the people who adhere to masculine ideologies the most are black men, without a doubt, right? But once again, it's because we exist in spaces where we believe consciously that our ability to engage in our masculinity is being robbed, which I don't necessarily disagree with. But in a lot of different ways, the way in which we go about fighting that shit is wild. It's wide and all outside. Like, bro, instead of us politicizing against particular structures, instead of us engaging with school boards so that we can get taught about who it is that we are as black men, instead of developing community based organizations for us as black men to have these resources, instead of us petitioning in these particular, no, we want to be able to mimic white masculinity in the way that we are able to police our women, tell them what to do, and tell you to go sit the fuck down because that's what makes us a man. Like, you're a fucking goofy, bro. Like, you're a goofy. And I consistently say this over and over. Like, the masculinity that you are chasing is the same masculinity that enslaves you and called you a boy. So why do you believe that this is the masculinity that you need to adhere to? Like, it literally comes from 19th century Victorian Europe, the same 19th century Victorian Europe that gave the go ahead to continue to enslave you. Like, where are you getting this from? Who taught you this? Well, it wasn't who. Let me chill because let me chill. But
or don't chill.
It wasn't your fucking daddy, bro. It wasn't your father. It wasn't nobody in your life who had the opportunity to actually be masculine. Because if you want me to keep with a strong buck, like a smooth buck, bro, a number of black men were led in their lives by lost niggas. And we don't want to admit that we've been led in our lives by lost niggas. So once again, what masculinity are you emulating besides a broken or an incomplete masculinity that's literally based in domination and invalidation? What are you doing?
And I will say that something that I always admire about Eddy is that my challenge typically is the onus should be on men to create the kind of spaces and community that we need. Because like we're the people perpetuating these systems. Not necessarily always black men, but certainly black men have a role in perpetuating these kind of things. And Eddy's take is always, well, like, let's present solutions, like let's be a part of what that is. So like I do think that, to your point, we've culturally, not necessarily us, but culturally, we have been led by broken niggas. Like that's been a thing that has led us astray. And I think that the issue that I have, and it's going to lead into the next topic, is that when anybody says that, when anybody highlights those issues, when anybody wants to bring that to the forefront, that's often a problem. When oftentimes those people are just trying to be part of solutions on how do we get out of those boxes? How do we move forward as a group? Like that's one of the reasons why I always appreciate you as a guest, because I appreciate the fact that you're putting your money where your mouth is, right? Like, you're calling these things out, but you're also being actively a part of solutions. Yeah. So I do appreciate the work that you do.
No, I appreciate
in all earnesty.
Yeah, for real. That was some bars, Odie. For real. Alvin, I think you got something to tell the people real quick.
Oh my God, I got to do the mid roll too?
Yes, you do.
Oh, yeah. God damn, shit. All right, fuck. All right. Have y'all ever wanted to see three crazy niggas talk about stuff? Talk about stuff in person? I don't know, like, you know, like I didn't have a transition at all. We just gonna keep that in.
You know what?
I like that one. Nigga, wrong with that one.
Fuck it.
Editor note. Keep that in. Keep that in. We're gonna roll with that one. All right. So
you said something about something was going to lead to the next point.
Yeah. So what that bridge was. Yeah, black men support or perceived lack of support for the Harris Walls campaign.
Let
me set some stage stuff here. Set some stage stuff here, because I think this is important to kind of color the conversation. So at the time in which Barack Obama was kind of pulled off the bench, and when they pulled Bill Clinton out of his crypt to kind of do some shit,
Mhm.
the overall polling said that Harris had about 70% of the overall black male support. Now, younger black males, which would be defined by the polling as 18 to 40, were polling somewhere around 51%, which was an alarm. And this is not all eligible voters in that range. This is likely voters. These are people that were likely voters. It's about 51% of young black males. Now, contrast that to black women, who basically likely voters are in the 90 plus range across all age ranges. And this is very much a race of margins, right? So we talked a lot about how ideologically there are a lot of people who are kind of like in their camp. They are where they are. So when you get into an ideological race, it becomes a race of how well can you bring out your historical base, right?
Mm.
So you kind of wanna perform as close to 100 as you can within the bases that you typically have a strong affinity for as a Democratic candidate. So a lot of what happened, October 10th when Barack made his initial statements was born out of the fact that like, oh, we're in trouble with young black male voters specifically, and we need them. That's all the context I want to give, and now I'm ready for y'all. I'm ready for y'all thoughts because I definitely got quite a few.
All right. So I'm gonna keep it $1.50 with you, right? Because I know that historically, black men have been more progressive voters historically, right? We are talking about contemporary data. We are talking about data that exists right at this moment in time. There is a reason why we are consistently having these conversations around masculinity. There is a reason why we are consistently having these conversations around the conditions of men. There is a reason why we are consistently having these conversations about men's mental health, because the patriarchy as we know it is crumbling. The patriarchy as we know it is crumbling. If Kamala Harris, a black woman, or irrespective of how it is that her ethnicity is contested, a black woman for all intents and purposes, if she gets into the White House, what that represents for a lot of black men is lack of opportunity. And here's the reason why I say that, right? For a number of black men, especially between the ages of 18 and 40, I don't believe that we realize how much, because Alvin, you say ideologically, I would say psychologically, I would say from a space of trauma, how often we equate our lack of access with black women. It is so wildly obvious, right? So it is, and men will say, or black men will say, what are your policies, what are this? And actually I was asking the same questions until my girlfriend was like, well, did you read all of her policies? And I was like, no, send me the link. And as I read, because literally she was like, well, what would you want for Kamala as a black man? What would you want for Kamala Harris to do in order for you to feel a particular type of way about her policies? I was like, well, mental health, job access, and the ability to engage economically on a broad scale. She was like, yo, she has policies that are going to address all of those things. And I read it and I was like, okay, well, I became more informed about her policies. At the same time, and of the same token, when we talk about being staunchly in a camp, when we talk about being staunchly entrenched in this idea, it is this idea that because she's a black woman, and for very few other reasons that you can give me, because when we begin talking about policy, when we begin talking about, oh, what are you going to do for black men, I tend to have a very strong response to that. The reason being is because, brother, even if these doors are open, are you going to walk through them? Like, even if these policies were put into place, are you going to actually take advantage of these policies? Are you actually going to do what's necessary? Because the reality of the situation is, my nigga, ain't nobody coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. And I feel like a lot of black men want to be saved. They don't want to be identified. They don't want to be acknowledged. They don't want to be helped. They want to be saved. Ain't nobody coming to save you, bro. Nobody's coming to save you. So when we talk about this 51% of black men between the ages of 18 and 40, for me, it's very much so it's not even ideological, it's psychological. I cannot bring myself to vote for a black woman when I feel like most of my black masculinity has been assaulted and removed by black women. So putting her as the figurehead of a country would just continue to put the icing on that cake, and I'm not going to do it.
That is such a depressing thought. And I'm hoping that is like a small fraction of the black male community that actually thinks like that.
A lot of black male voters was on the fence. Okay, so I looked right before this. Percentages overall and percentages of most black male voters have gotten better. As of the poll I saw from the aggregate polls I saw from the 30th. So less, but man, Professor. So I'm just gonna be honest, man. I expected to argue about this one, and I kind of don't want to argue with you. I kind of just want to amen. This might be one of those boring podcasts where I'm just like, yeah, man, he right. Like, yeah, like what he said. We just gonna go back and forth and just be like, yeah.
I try not to do stuff like that. I promise I do. I try to give things that are like in my mind. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna say some shit that's controversial, and then turn the niggas be like, yep.
Actually, you're not wrong.
Well, shit, I'm sorry.
Okay, so let me. Okay, so I got some stats. You know what I'm saying? I try to do a little homework.
Damn, we doing homework for this one. This the first. We don't usually do this, y'all. Like, Odie, I don't know if you be. We don't usually do this.
We just be talking.
We just be off the dome. Oh.
But I mean, like, okay, so the stat I have here says about 8 in 10 black voters, both women, 84%, and men, 81%, are Democrats or Democratic leaners. So with what we just spoke about, like, are we saying that at least like 40% of that 81 are being like, nah, I can't vote for no black woman because my masculinity ain't gonna be intact no more, like the patriarchy ain't gonna be intact no more, baby. You know what I'm saying? I
think that, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but in general, I think that people are downplaying how younger black men are being impacted by the same things that are impacting younger white men. So like the Andrew Tate-ification kind of situation, right? So like I would say, and polls are not always reality. Like we definitely have seen polling error. Even the polls that got that, like so I know like the NAACP did a poll, and they explicitly stated that their polling error like estimate was 3 to 4 percentage points or something like that. So even within, you know, the numbers I gave, like there's play with that, and then there's just like the unstated error that happens with basically every poll. So I don't necessarily think it's as high of an issue as the Harris campaign thought when they again pulled Barack off the bench, but I definitely think that it's wider spread than it being like a small blip on the radar, right?
Yeah,
I definitely think it's something worth addressing.
For sure.
And I think that like the number one pushback I saw to the situation was, well, overall black support is 70%, so we shouldn't say anything. And I'm like, that sounds ridiculous. Like I'm like if we have 30% of likely voters, you know, minus any polling error, in a race about margins that are on the fence / not voting for the candidate that's most likely to win, because again we can throw in the Jill Stein situation or all that kind of stuff, but the Democratic candidate most likely to win, that's cause for concern. Like and a lot of people viewed it as like chastising, and I'm like, this isn't chastising. This is trying to win a race. And I think that we get into this situation where people want to be right more than they want to win. And I think that bothers me a little bit in that situation. But all that aside, Josh, ultimately to get back to your point, I do think it's significant enough to address, even if it's not as big of a percentage as, you know, 49% of young black male voters. I think if it's 30, it's worth addressing.
Yeah, and my point with saying that wasn't to say that it wasn't worth addressing or talking about. It was just like,
is that accurate?
That many people.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? But like, is it like, damn, is it like that many people, that many black men really have that ideology about withholding a vote for a black woman? Because that's why, because I'm like, that is extremely depressing.
Hey, man, look, like, think about it like this, man. Think about it like this. Hillary Clinton didn't win white women. Think about it like that, man. Think about how internalized that shit can be. Like the women didn't show up for the white women, because the black women always do what needs to be done. The white women didn't show up for Hillary Clinton, so it wouldn't be unheard of. It wouldn't be unheard of.
I mean, because it's just tough for me, and it's maybe because I don't have this. I'm not so strongly identified with my masculinity. I am, but I'm not. It's not like, if I'm not this masculine motherfucker, then who am I? You know what I'm saying? So it's hard for me to imagine or think that if a black woman, a qualified black woman, is president, that's going to somehow impact or affect my masculinity, which is some shit that only I control. Brother, like, you're gonna wake up being you regardless of the economic situation. Like, you still gonna be you. I mean, like, for sure, like, shit can impact it, but the spirit of who you are is gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
So I want you to think about it from the perspective of following the conversation about Kamala Harris amongst black men, right? It is very similar to the way that it is that a lot of, and it's going to be a wild parallel, but follow me, the same way that a lot of black men talk about black women in spaces of dating, right? Or in spaces of like these dating podcasts. Yeah. It is this idea that your qualifications make you unqualified because you are no longer subservient. So it's like, for example, the whole idea that Kamala Harris threw so many black men in jail or did all of, and then when we found out that those things were not accurate, where was the follow-up to that conversation, right? There's a clip circulating right now of Charleston White saying, oh, I changed my vote. I'm voting for Kamala because she's not really black. Black women can't be corrected. But to Alvin's point, whenever we begin having this conversation about identifying some of the ways in which we are being inconsistent in our own application of what it is that we are asking for, all of a sudden it's brouhaha. There's a lot of projection as it relates to the dynamics between black men and black women. A lot of projection, right? Oh, black women can't be corrected. Brother, you are literally removing yourself from the accountability of being corrected specifically in this instance. So what you are saying to me right at this moment in time is that you are not going to vote for this black woman simply because she's a woman or simply because she's a qualified black woman. What about this? And people will sit and say to me, oh, you simply, you done it. No. This happens entirely too often. This behavioral pattern comes up entirely too often for us to not identify it as a psychological thing. What is so difficult for you to identify this black woman as qualified? And the only answer that I can come up with is that black men for so long have felt that they have been disqualified. They felt that they've been left out, which is the reason why the Kamala Harris and the imprisonment argument was so popular. Because once again, she is a representation of how it is that black women who go too high up into the white power structure become accomplices to white men instead of accomplices to black men. It is this whole idea that if I vote for you, you are going to do the same thing that a black woman in power has done to me multiple times over, whether it be my mother, whether it be a teacher, whether it be this person who had this much impact over my life, whether it be a probation officer, whether it be a judge. Black men firmly do not believe that black women have favorable perceptions about black men. But my question then becomes, brother, are you engaging in a way that is favorable? Are you engaging in such a way that is supportive? Or are you consistently being a part of the problem because this black woman is not behaving in a way that substantiates a masculinity that, quite frankly, you have not even done the work to fix? What are you doing? once again, that's always going to be my question. What are you doing? Because even if the hammer comes down in Donald Trump's favor, what are you going to do with what it is that he's going to give to you? A lot of the conversation becomes, oh, he the one who gave us stimulus checks, so you gonna sell your soul for $1,200. You a
And that's
fucking
not even
crazy.
true. And that's not
Not
even
even
true.
true. It's not
He
even true.
didn't even give us the stimulus check. Like, he
But
just had a name on it.
you want somebody to respect you, but you gonna tap dance for money, bro? Stop talking to me. Stop pretending like you standing on something. You laying down for every fucking thing. Stop it.
And the shit that gets me with the conversation, just being and I do want to specifically talk about Barack Obama's role in this, because I think that's an interesting angle as well. But the thing that gets me about this is that people don't seem to understand when legislation is geared to help their community unless it says like what are they like they I feel like having these conversations and seeing the conversation from that perspective, unless it says like black man bill, they assume that it doesn't help them, right? So for example, ACA was a win for black people. Like let's call it what it is, right? Supporting CHIPS funding was a win for black people. All right. Additional education funding. Or I'll give you another one. Loan forgiveness, right? The most indebted demographic, because they are the most educated demographic. If you look at conferring of bachelor's and master's and above graduate education, like degrees, advanced degrees, is black women. So like if you have a program that pauses loan interest, right, or forgives loans, that's typically going to disproportionately impact and help black women, right? So there are a lot of things that help black people that don't have to say black person bill in the title, right? So I feel like a lot of people are overlooking a lot of things that have been done that have helped black people,
Right.
that are planned to help black people, that various people in the Democratic Party have supported. And I think that a lot of the blinders is because they don't want to see it. And I think they don't want to see it because of all the reasons that the good professor has laid out for us. Again, this is going to be a very good addendum episode because, like, quite frankly, you're fucking spitting. From my perspective, I don't got anything to add. Really, I'm just gonna put garnish on whatever the fuck you saying tonight.
Alvin, you're not beating the allegations.
That's crazy.
Alvin, they beating the allegations of hating niggas.
But no, I think.
Oh my fucking! I'm gonna be a radical feminist for 3 more weeks after this one again.
Listen, G, I think it's very interesting because one of the core policies that is very interesting, extremely interesting, is the marijuana policy. Mm-hmm. Extremely interesting. Here's why. Because for a number of black men, incarceration is the largest disruptor to their livelihoods, right? But for most black men, the reason why they're incarcerated is because they were attempting to generate a livelihood, right? So let's put it there. Nonviolent drug offenses, one of the main reasons why black men get incarcerated. Cool, fine. I understand that, and I agree with that. Why? And when I say I agree with it, I agree with how the system is designed to disrupt your ability to obtain a livelihood through those methods and through those means. But with the marijuana policy specifically, and I want to make sure that, because once again we doing homework, y'all. Hold on. I asked my girlfriend specifically, like, baby, can you send me this joint right before we get on this joint? Because I'm like, I need to have it in my hand, right? So this is from KamalaHarris.com. It's from her policies, right? So where is it?
Specifically talking about not allowing employers to discriminate against people with weed-related drug offenses in terms of employment.
Yes, but there's something else too. Okay, breaking down unfair and unnecessary barriers for employment to black men. Vice President Harris knows that black men are disproportionately shut out of the job market based upon their criminal records and credit scores. Vice President Kamala Harris believes that employers should consider a job candidate's qualifications first, without the stigma of a conviction or an arrest record. That's why we work with Congress to require businesses to limit the use of unnecessary criminal arrest histories, convictions, and credit scores in their employment decisions. Laws like these have been shown to lead to increased employment among black men and have been embraced by 37 states and 150 cities led by both Republican and Democratic governors. This program will build upon her work as Attorney General of California District Attorney, where she implemented nationally recognized and successful programs to help former offenders secure employment, reduce recidivism, and reintegrate and contribute to their communities. Right? So when we talk about it from this particular perspective, right? Oh, there it is. Legalizing recreational marijuana and creating opportunities for Black Americans to succeed in this new industry, right? It wasn't in the bold, it was in the top 5, right? Those two things together create almost, if we actually take advantage of these opportunities, they can create a super highway of individuals who are able to move past a number of hurdles that have harmed them in the past to get to where it is that they would like to go, right? So when we begin talking about this whole idea, Kamala Harris, she did this. Okay, y'all talk about accountability so much. Is this not being accountable to what it is that she did, if she did it? Is this not utilizing her power to shift these policies so that they don't impact you as disproportionately? Once again, Alvin, I 100% agree with what it is that you're saying. This whole idea that it has to say Black man bill. And actually, if you want me to keep it $150 with you, there are a number of Black men who respond that way. It's this whole idea of, they got all this stuff for Black women. What about the things for Black men? Bro, 100 Black men, Thurgood Marshall College Fund. There are a number of things that are specifically geared towards Black men. But are y'all looking for them? Are you doing the work that's necessary in order to go obtain them? And I'm not saying, and please do not get me wrong, I'm not attempting to frame this as Black men being lazy. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is why do you have to be damn near goaded? Somebody damn near has to beg you to take advantage of something that is going to benefit you. And I understand the apprehension. I understand the fear. I understand the mistrust, but call it that. Stop blaming other people for these outcomes based upon, once again, at times it is your inactivity. At times it is your fear. It is your apprehension. At times it is your disbelief that this is for you that removes you from engaging in these policies. And that's my spiel on that.
Yeah. And I will say, Josh, you got something?
Yeah, I was just about to say I'll take it one step further. I just think it's also a thing of a lot of people are in the dark and just straight up ignorant of the actual policies. They don't even know. It's just, like you said, fear, apprehension, and then down the grapevine, like, oh man, she ain't do shit for Black people. Oh man, you see the commercials. You ain't did nothing for me. So like these things are in front of your face, but again, like it's not even like a Black man or like problem. This is just a human problem. People don't do a lot of research.
And it's like the prime example that it's 2 examples actually. So one, the on the nose one is that if you ask even the most conservative, like people in the most conservative areas of the country, and you describe the Affordable Care Act, you just describe it and you call it the Affordable Care Act, they're like, that sounds like a great idea. I would support that. And then you call it Obamacare, and they immediately hate it. They immediately they immediately hate it. So what I would caution voters on the fence with stuff like, I need to call it a certain thing, or I need to explicitly say certain things. What you call something matters in terms of getting it passed. And I remember, and a lot of people still don't get that. I remember Bernie Sanders was lambasted for his take on reparations when he ran last time. And Bernie Sanders actually had a reparations plan. Mm-hmm. What Bernie said, like literally verbatim, what he was doing was he rolled out a plan that was effectively a reparations plan, and he didn't want to call it a reparations plan. And they asked him specifically why he didn't want to call it a reparations plan. He was like, because if I call this a reparations plan, it'll never pass effectively. All right. So again, like, do you want to win, or do you want to be right? I think that's where we are from this situation.
And
do you want to win, or do you want to be right?
Men want to be right over winning. Because being right reinforces being a leader. Being right reinforces being masculine. Being right reinforces being a man.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Black men, get your ass out there, them polls. You know what I'm saying?
Serious business.
Check that blue box. But all right, that was fucking phenomenal. But all right, before we end it out, I want to do a quick lightning round.
I like that.
Young Thug released, but on very strict conditions.
How they gonna tell this nigga that he can't? I didn't know they could do that shit.
You can't live in Atlanta. You can't come to Atlanta. Nigga.
They said this nigga can't come to none of the metro. They said this nigga can't come to the metro area unless it's a life event for his family. I was like,
can't go to Stone Mountain.
Yeah, this nigga can't go to Stone Mountain.
To the Waffle House.
This nigga can't go to fucking Clayco. This nigga can't be nowhere. How him and Gunna gonna collab if you can't go to Clayco?
You better send that shit over them files, boy.
Look, man.
Yeah, for real.
That shit's crazy. I really didn't know they could do that. I really didn't know they could do that.
My thing is they put this man on 15 years of probation in effectively based upon, because if you read the conditions of his probation, effectively he literally, because if you read it, because they did it real slick. Because when I read it in concert, I was like, whoa, that means that effectively he can't perform most of his previous music. He can't.
Yeah, because it was like a clause in there that said he cannot say anything about.
He cannot promote gang violence, and he cannot contact any of the previous YSL members. So he literally in his music he cannot promote, identify, or engage in gang or gang related activity in his lyrics. I'm almost certain that's what it said.
I do know that he could. I know he can't record with certain people, and I know he tried to get the exemption for Gunna and his brother.
He got it, didn't he? Or at least
I'm pretty sure he got it.
Oh, and then niggas owe Gunna a lot of apology.
Oh, did you see that meme where it was like Gunna pointed out all of the rappers who said he snitched?
Yeah, that shit was.
And that's that could also be again on some motherfucking like masculinity, some toxic masculinity shit within like the black community, because on some street code, oh man, this nigga a snitch, you a rat, bitch ass nigga. I don't fucking with him, like Lil Baby. And Gunna ain't say shit. Nigga just released 2 bombs after he got out for album.
Kept it pushing
under night, like hot heat, just heat. And yeah, Young Thug is out, and he was like, "Look, I will accept this Herculean probation y'all are giving me, but at least allow me to collaborate with Gunna and my brother." Like, what y'all niggas got about to say now? So that
also, and I'm saying this as a Lil Baby stan. Like I don't hide the fact that like I'm high on Lil Baby. As a person who's from the city limits of Atlanta, false claim in the city went down by like 40% when Lil Baby said from Atlanta, not Decatur. So like I'm high on this nigga. This nigga's really from the city. But the word was always that fucking Gunna was like ghostwriting for this nigga, and I just don't know how his career would survive him calling out Gunna if Gunna's no longer ghostwriting for him, if that's true. But I always thought that was an interesting angle. Like, you just gonna like call this nigga out and he's allegedly responsible for a lot of your early success. I don't know how that plays.
I don't mean this to be like a dick, but sometimes one thing I wonder about Lil Baby, and hey, I know I have difficulty, properly articulating myself with my words, but when you hear him talk versus hearing him rap, it's like a whole nother nigga.
Yes, it is.
You know, it's like I can hear you crystal clear, like you sound like you're not sleepy, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
hey man, look man, I always say I say this shit about British singers too, man. British singers don't always be singing British.
Yo, when I found out Ella May was you know who?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, when you found,
bro, the one that shocked me the most was Mac Morrison, the boy who sang "Return of the Mac."
I didn't know
UK.
Okay, so I knew Matt Morrison was from the UK, but that was just because the video was on some UK shit. But like listening to him, he don't sound like a UK nigga. Like for real. Jamaican. Yeah, Ella May. I didn't know that Ella May was from the UK until we went to the UK and somebody was like, "Yeah, Ella May like just forgot she was from the UK," and I was like, "The fuck?"
Yeah, she's mad British.
She's mad British. All right, what's next in the lightning round?
Freddie Gibbs' new album, "You Only Die Once."
Classic, instant classic. No skips. No
Never
skips.
heard it.
All the way through. That fucking he flipped the beat from that Tony shit. That shit so fucking cold. I was like, God.
Your mama saying, "Do you know what today is?"
I was like, oh my fucking God, Gibbs. Like Cosmo freestyle going in. Like it's not as good as Tyler's album. But again, I'm really high on Tyler's album, just being frank. But Gibbs is up there. Gibbs is one of the best albums of the year.
What's
Best rap albums of the year, to be sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's great fucking production. I love the beats on this. I think that's one reason why, like, it's like sticking to me. It's like so soon is because like it's easy to listen, but he also rapping his ass off, and then he is flipping iconic R&B songs like Cupid. No one has ever flipped that beat and like a nigga just rapped on it.
Yeah, that nigga's going off, man. And to your point, so it's such a good listen too, man. Like I listened to, like I started, like the day it came out, I started in my apartment, like getting ready, and just took it with me to the car, listened to it on my way to work. Just an easy fucking listen, didn't skip anything. As opposed to what I think, and I know me and Josh disagree on this one, but I think the best pure rapping display that I've heard this year is fucking Stabbed and Shot 2. Because these niggas was going bar for bar on this shit. It was fucking Benny and fucking 38 Special. But it's not, but even though they're rapping, it's not an easy listen. Especially the first half of the album. It's like the production is rough. The vocals don't sound like well mixed. Like I have to be listening and like being conscious of like punchlines and bars to really get into it. Not the case with Gibbs. With Gibbs, it's just like it just flows, man. It just feels good.
Yeah. And production, again, I think it did a lot of the work for like an immediate, like, oh shit, I like this. Cause I don't know, when I first hear like an album, I'm listening for vibes, like beat, and then I catch like certain like wordplay and things that they say, and then I go back and like actually take a deep dive into the lyrics. So great album, Gangsta Gibbs. You done got through the adversity. Next up, have you ever listened to Freddie Gibbs?
Nope.
Oh my fucking God, Odie! Like you got
check him out.
Nope.
Pinata, man. Just do it. Just do it tonight. Just start with Pinata like everybody else did. Like just start with Pinata like everybody else did.
Is Pinata really the one?
It really
like,
is the
like
one,
a
man.
Safe entry because like you okay? So do you like Currency? New Orleans native, Spitter Andretti.
I've heard a couple of his songs. So like I said, for me as a listener and a purveyor of hip hop, I enjoy lyricism and I enjoy musicality. If they have both of those things, then I'll be fine.
Oh, absolutely.
Pinata. You gonna fuck with that Pinata?
Shit, Bandana, or I mean, hell,
actually Bandana too, for real. Or Fetty.
That's what I was getting at with Currency.
Fetty maybe.
That's what I was getting at because like Freddie, I mean, Currency, that's one of my favorite artists, but Freddie Gibbs wiped Currency ass on every track, especially Willie Lloyd. Like anyway, but
yeah,
that nigga's a dope rapper. You know, maybe not the best human being, but great fucking rapper.
Oh yeah, horrible person, great rapper.
That's what I know about Freddie Gibbs.
All right, next up, not Kyler, but Tyler the Creator, Chromacopia. What we feeling?
Great production, great concept. Love the album, honestly.
9 out of 10. Hollywood recommend.
I haven't given it an entire listen yet. I've heard bits and pieces, but I have a plan to listen to it simply because once again, like as an artist, I feel like Tyler has that depth. He has that that those multiplicities, and it's like he's one of them ones. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like I once again, I would not call myself a Tyler fan. My girlfriend's a Tyler fan, but for me, it's like I can appreciate the effort and the craftsmanship that he places into his projects when he does drop his projects. So like,
yeah, effort and execution. But I say that as a Tyler fan. So my first impression of the album, and this is not the first time like a Tyler the Creator album has done this. The first couple tracks, I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. But that motherfucker hit that 4-song stride with the start of Darling I, Hey Jane, I Killed You, and Judge Judy. And I was like, instant, because I like the softer Tyler immediately. And then, and motherfucking like, Hey Jane is such a beautiful, like.
And I'm coming at it from the harder angle, bro. Like some of like those like harder tracks.
Yeah.
And when I say harder, I don't necessarily mean like from a lyrical content perspective. I mean like from a production style, like Noid and Thought I Was Dead and Sticky.
Yeah,
Sticky is a bop for real, and it's got a harder kind of like production style, and I'm like, make you stank face. Like I love that shit. Like, but overall, like just a great album.
Yeah.
Top tier Wayne verse on Sticky, by the way. Like, we'll check that out.
Dom had a really good, Dom Sharp from Potty Mouth had a really good Tyler the Creator breakdown for like a first, round listen, like right after they came out. And he was like, I never need to hear a Lil Wayne verse in 2024.
Hey man, I don't
I
care.
was
That
like,
shit
damn.
he was spitting, man. Sexy Red was spitting too. I was like, there's no way Sexy wrote this verse because she was spitting kind of hard.
I mean, they only had 4 bars to do, so it better have been their best. But yeah, no, great album. Oh yeah, Tizo. Oh yeah, one more thing I want to call out too is like, Alvin, I don't know if you realize this or if it's something that you thought about, but on Darling Guy, did you notice that Tizo touchdown effectively replaced oh my God, what's dude name? Charlie Wilson.
I wasn't tracking it. Now I need to go
Like,
back and re-listen.
listen to it and you can literally hear like that was where Charlie Wilson would have been singing and like doing background vocals in the runs.
Okay.
And Tizo killed it.
I'm gonna check that out immediately after this.
Yeah. You can once you hear it, you like, oh yeah, I definitely hear Charlie Wilson on that. Word for word, bar for bar.
All right, we lighting the round out.
Yep.
I like that one, Josh. I like that one. We might need to make that a staple. I like the lightning round topics.
Yeah, I think we should definitely incorporate that.
Yeah. But all that to say, that is the pod. If you feel like your masculinity has been challenged by the presence of qualified, powerful women of color, you may be waving a red flag. However, if you've been banned from the metro area, your place of upbringing, your place of origin, the streets that you ran as a part of a plea deal, you might be seeing a red flag. So this has been waving the red flag. It has been Alvin. It has been Josh. Once again, Eddy is currently in the process of recording his EP. 100% weekend inspired.
Nothing
Going to be definitely about, doing Molly, drugs in the club, nonstop.
Future gonna be on a couple tracks too.
100%. We've had
He crushed up an expel in someone's asshole.
not touching that one, but we have had the illustrious Professor Eddy joining us. Anything to plug, sir?
Good people, great people, guys, people. Once again, please come join me on my podcast at The Antidote. That's THA Antidote, like the antidote to a poison, where we genuinely give strong medicine to things that need to be strongly discussed. And look out for my Patreon, where I will be giving out live classes on mental health, learning how to be more selfish, learning how to improve your quality of life by understanding how it is to tell other people no, how it is to tell yourself yes, and how it is to just live in the world in such a way where you put yourself first before you put others' problems before where it is that you are. But outside of that, good people, great people, guys, people, it's been a pleasure as always, good brothers.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So, again, make sure you check out The Good Professor. Make sure that you are liking, subscribing, following us wherever podcasts are found. Again, we appreciate you guys for always supporting us, and make sure that you let us know how we can further improve and further grow. Taking advantage of all that we have to offer, and helping us push the agenda further for the Waving the Red Flag family. And again, just before we sign out, again, Professor, just want to thank you for being a part of solutions. There are a lot of people talking about shit, and I'm not going to say that we're holier than thou in that perspective, but it's amazing to see a black man being a part of solutions. So thank you so much for coming through.
I appreciate that, good brother. Thank y'all.
Many bars dropped, many gems dropped. You did that, my brother. Yeah,
And we all did homework.
Rewatching it. I know, right?
We all did fucking homework. That's new.
Look at us. Oh yeah, one last thing. Make sure that you I think Alvin, you already mentioned it. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe to the Patreon, or like, the member community, get access for the Discord. So, you can continue on these conversations. And then a lot of times, like, you can also like, bring up a topic or ask us a question in the Discord, and then we'll actually talk about it in the episode. That's actually how this part of how this conversation tonight got spurred on was from Discord comment. So yeah.
Gotcha.
And
Peace.
peace. That's a wrap. Oh, just giving the peace sign. So I just say.